Welcome back to Smoking Word Podcast, everyone.
It's us.
It's your girl, Sasha P.
Clara J.
And Prince Michael.
You see our very special guest. Y'all see what's going on.
Yes. We are back with another Smoking Word episode. How y'all living? How y'all feel?
How you been this week?
I've been doing good. I can't complain. What's going on? How y'all week been?
What about you, Mike?
You know, it's been robust, even though it's early in the week.
Robust.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yes. Not bad nor good, just robust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're in the thick of it.
Right.
That's right.
Let's finish hard, guys. So,
we do. Well, so great to have you in the bill, and it's been a long time coming, y'all. We've been trying to get him on the show since season 1.
Right.
It's
been a long time coming. Now we got the Prince on the podcast. Nah, for real though, this is one of our good friends personally.
One of our favorite people for sure.
But one of the most humble people you ever meet in your life. That's doing the biggest things you could ever
ever imagine.
And you wouldn't know it if you didn't know. You know.
But now you do.
But now you do.
If you tapped in with us.
You welcome.
So introduce yourself. We always like to give our guests a chance to just put themselves out there and tell us who you are, what you do.
I'm Prince Michael Jett. I'm actually originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. Lincoln Heights, Ohio to be exact, which is the first self-black governing town north of the Mason-Dixon line, 5th generation, descendant. And
we talked about that on one of our first episodes.
Yeah, and I write hard about that, right? Because one, I'm also the national ambassador for autism in the workplace, and I hope we'll be able to take time to go into that.
Yeah.
But combining my passion for wanting to the next person to know their equity, right, from coming from such a historical town, right, understood the significance of that very early, as well as I love all things grocery retail. And have since I was a child, so I hope we can dive into that today.
Yes.
I love it.
We can't wait.
Man, we like to get into it. So you're like the perfect person, I feel, to come on our podcast, because I feel you have such great opinions, and your thoughts, I value them, and I know other people do as well. So thanks again for joining us.
Yes.
And just to start, tell us a little bit about how you gained the title of Prince.
Mm-hmm. Well, long story short, because this is the thing, right? It's so insignificant. And I know that's going to sound crazy, but that's the thing, because a title without action means nothing.
I know that's right.
So, me being the title of a prince, what does that do when I'm dead and gone one day? Right? People going to be able to look back on that on a title. Or would that allow access for action, or something to come out of that? So, while yes, I'm a prince, I say that I'm a prince that is, how do I put it? Have the goal of strengthening domestic supply chain and global supply chain for Africans, right? But I am American and American first, of course. But my purpose as a prince is to be able to help bring the kingdom equity, right? And to really help people understand the value of Ghana and what Ghana has to offer, what the continent of Africa has to really offer. Since the beginning of mankind, from Mesopotamia all the way across towards West Africa, the continent of Africa and its shared regions have been sustaining mankind for forever. So for me, until that title allows that to happen amongst my own people, then it is a title without a purpose.
Ooh. Well, you gonna open it up like that? All right, mic drop in the episode, y'all. Sorry,
we can close it up.
Right. No, real talk.
But no, respect, though. I appreciate that answer wholeheartedly, because, a lot of people do rely on titles, but that doesn't mean that they really walking the walk. It's kind of like My mom always used to say, "Pretty is as pretty does." That saying, and it's like, you know,
let my working attributes say the title that people want to give me. Right. Because everybody else's story of me is what's going to last, never my own story.
Awesome. Amen to that. Yes. And you really like always talk about legacy and creating that, you know, and that's so important. And I feel like it's because you do come from a town where there is legacy and stuff like that. And a lot of us don't have that. We didn't grow up that way. So you really like sharing that and what really like what it meant to be a black community, you know, like we never really experienced that to the full extent, like down to the government being black, you know, so that's just you can see how those things can trickle down through your blood and stuff. And that's such a blessing too.
For sure.
Absolutely. You know, equity is generational, right? That's the only way it can be somewhat sustainable. Right. But even when we look in America, some of the original most wealthy families, right, now are desolate, right, as far as some of that wealth. So it's all about the maintenance of the education and upgrading the previous generation's education with new times. Right. So like that old money doesn't distribute to new money unless there's innovation with old money. Right. And that takes multiple generations.
For sure. Woo. And y'all just out here sticking and moving reckless.
Man, reckless as hell. No ambition. Just doing whatever. Yakety smackety. But you know, while we're on that, you know, like obviously we all love Africa. We're not going to get into Africa because Africa. Right.
It's a whole separate topic.
It's a whole separate topic.
We already did a whole episode, I think, about it too.
We talked about it.
Back on it.
And got into it. So, congratulations. I mean, on
just everything that you're doing and showing us. I remember consulting with you with my business back in the day and telling me some good things, you know, that I'm going to still like, you know, hard head, but now implementing, you know, but that's how it goes.
You're seeing all those conversations that we had. For sure. You're starting to see it's like, man, he told me this is exactly right.
Yeah. So I always appreciate that too, you know. So Jett always been for the people, you know. It's Michael Jett, but we call him Jett, you know, just so y'all know. He's always been for the people. So another thing that you just delved into when you were, you know, letting us know who you are in your introduction was neurodivergence. And that's really what we really wanted to delve into today, because you're doing a lot of innovation in that space, and I think it's definitely a worthy conversation to be had. So
certainly.
So yeah, tell us. You said that you are the ambassador.
Yes, I'm the national ambassador for autism in the workplace.
Okay.
So myself, I have autism and ADHD. And it's been quite a journey both on the desk and in my personal life, navigating success or navigating certain situations that one is not often talked about, right? And ultimately at the end of the day, I'm special needs. Right? But the thing is, this is the biggest thing I want everyone to remember, is that the only reason why there's a contract or that there's that corporations do business with individuals is for the reason I'm about to say. And it relates back to the whole special needs piece, right? So if your company is pitching to a corporation to be able to maybe do some of their marketing, right? And you're looking to be able to take a $11 million budget or a big budget, well, that company is only asking you to be able to do that because also, although they're great in all these other areas, they have a need that they need satisfied externally from what they can do themselves, right? So that means that every corporation is nothing but a conglomerate of departments with special needs, right? So for me having special needs, I say that proudly, and I don't see that as a default on who I am and my equity, nor my capabilities, because it's only the identification of the fact you have a special need that you can actually become made whole, right? So for me to deny my nuances and needs is actually deny myself wholeness.
Talk to
So that's what I try to showcase to people now. If you know that you're horrible at with time blindness, you have to be able to ask yourself, okay, what is it that's with time blindness? Do I just need a buddy system where I'm working with somebody, but they're not in my business, but I can still talk to them, right? So the only way that I've been able to maintain in corporate environments is through my willingness to be able to communicate where I can't show up, but the return on investment on where I can best show up, right? So that's what I do as National Ambassador of Autism in the Workplace.
That's really deep, because it's really just knowing thyself, you know?
Absolutely.
So let's dig into some of the things that you've discovered in your work, specifically with the workplace, and obviously things that happen within the workplace when it comes to neurodivergency.
Well, I used to go in around 4:30 in the morning, right? And you would think, oh, well, he's a workaholic, because I would still try to stay like majority of my shift, right? Because I was salaried. But I was going in at 4:30 because I was able to do my best work in the office, because not because it wasn't people there, was because I didn't have to worry about the fluorescent lighting.
Wow.
Right? And that was causing me not to be able to focus. It was causing me to have extra brain fog, right? Moments of anxiety, all because of fluorescent light, right? But instead of advocating and saying that, because now here you are in the department, and you know you're already black, you know.
Oh, now you gotta have a special life,
you know, here we go.
Right, this guy.
You know what I'm saying? And if you know me in person, I'm already, eccentric and all that. So now I ain't trying to be needy on top of it. You know what I mean? But long story short, it got to the point that, people are also, kind of now like, what do you need, right?
Right.
And I didn't even realize that a lot of corporations, right, I'll be honest, they really are for the betterment of their corporate employees. I can't really speak towards how people are on certain other levels, but I can say every corporate environment that I have been in, even when others have seen it as a negative department or a bad department, well, the benefit for me personally, but that's because autism is spectrum. So I can't say that whether this is directly tied to my autism or just tied towards how I just am, which is I didn't have the emotion in a boss that didn't want to conversate, or in the department that didn't want to make me feel good. Did I hit my KPI? Yes. Didn't I? So now the department act kind of funny because I'm failing them as a team. Okay. Right? But what does that got to do with my mental health? I better pick it up.
Right.
Or figure out a way. But that's me personally, but I still believe in, I will say this, I definitely believe that that's just me, but people do need to consider those type of things, right? But what that means is that there's more nuances in the workplace that happen to be able to know, all right, well, if I'm getting a leader, is that leader neurodivergent? And what are some things that's going to cause them to interrupt their day-to-day tasks? So the thing is, lighting was going to interrupt my day-to-day tasks, which is going to also affect the department. But with correct lighting, I'm still going to be able to hit department KPIs and score better in other areas because I have some extra strengths.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really about advocating for the return on investment for a department, because a department shouldn't have feelings, because it is all about numbers. And I know that sounds bad, but it is.
But it's true.
But it is. And your productivity is part of, their department totals, and that's just how it goes. So.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of jobs, I feel, have been like changing those types of things lately. Like even my job, our new facility has some type of different lighting. It's not fluorescent.
That's been proven to not be good for nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
Even things with the windows and the way the sun comes in and all of that.
It's important,
like,
right? To
right.
A better workplace. But I will say that, can we look at off the desk a little bit? Right. So I will say that I kind of have the corporate workplace down pat. But when
maybe not.
You know, because as y'all know, in a couple of weeks I'll retire.
Yeah.
So for me,
a couple weeks.
If I don't know the corporate workplace,
birthday.
yeah, I don't even need to know it at this point, right? I'm out. I'm out the game.
Right.
But so what my main passion is really looking at off the desk and really discovering myself for the first time. I started caring about groceries and wanting to have a business and really be active since I was really 8 years old. So I never took out the time to learn Michael the person. Everything was tied to my perceived smarts, whether they was internal to myself or from other people. Right? As well as having goals and ambition, right?
Right.
So that has caused me to be in relationships for all the wrong reasons, right? And it was never about physical characteristics. Like from that standpoint, it was about who could I vent to about supply chain or about hearing that Congress passed this vote and will they understand it. But then getting annoyed when you are physically attracted to somebody, but they don't care about you ranting about certain topics. But you're ruminating at 2 a.m. and you just really want that person to be excited the fact you just discovered this supply chain bottleneck. Right? But what I'm discovering is that is a need, and a nuance is that I have a mate that is okay with my stimming. Right? And sometimes my stimming involves them, and sometimes it's not going to involve them. And
tell the people tuning in what stimming is.
Yeah,
so
define that for us.
When you think about stimming, right? Like one way that I stim is when I'm passionate about something, or if I'm on the phone. Like right now, sitting down is a struggle for me. I really like y'all. Like I must really like y'all because I'm ready. I'm ready to turn off the camera and start pacing, like So that's stimming. Or a better way is, everybody's mama and auntie stem on Saturdays. Do you know how? They turn on that Anita. They turn on that Luther Vandross, and that allowed them to clean. Yeah. That's stimming, right? So, stimming is a way to be able to really balance yourself, right? So, people stim in different ways, and according to where your spectrum, you might see people, outwardly stimming, and it feels more obvious that they're doing that. Sometimes it can be, afflicting harm to themselves, or, all the way to, like I said, just ranting like crazy. Right, still stimming, right, and it shows up differently. So now it's really about understanding self-advocacy, and not only my journey, but the journey of so many other neurodivergent individuals that I know throughout the years, and learning about what are the bottlenecks that we've experienced, and what are the ways to better the experiences that cause those bottlenecks from our lovers and our friends.
So speaking of, you said, I think seeing things differently. How do you think autism, neurodivergency looks in our community? When I say our, obviously, I mean ours.
I think it's very clear, unfortunately. Now, we have to also be mindful that a lot of people say everybody got a touch of tism. That's not a cute saying, right? That's not that's the new saying, right? It's not cute or attractive, because what it actually is, it is also making light of the experiences of somebody that is perceived to be highly functional, like myself,
right?
Because now, if everybody got it, then what you need special type of cadences for,
right?
Right? Everybody got it. You're functional.
Everybody got attention.
No. I appear functional. Date me for a week and find out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right? Live with me, find out. So what I'm saying is, just because you're highly functional doesn't mean that you are strictly self-independent. It doesn't mean that you don't have certain nuances and needs that directly affect your daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly life. Right? And it's going to look different with each individual. An individual that's dyslexic is going to need their mate to show up for their neurodivergency completely different than somebody with ADHD. Right? And my thing is, we talk about mental health, but the biggest piece we first need to talk about is the prefrontal cortex. Right? And that is because that's where our executive dysfunction and dopamine is really coming from. And those are the first conversations. When your child is rambunctious, okay, is that coming from ADD? If it's not ADD, that's fine, but understand to be able to really decipher what behaviors is part of somebody's neurological pathway and versus not, because you can't discipline somebody for their neurological pathway.
Yeah.
That's insane. Right.
But we don't know that kind of stuff.
Right. So if you have that 16-year-old that by the time they was 14, they made up in their mind they was going to drop out of school, or they was trying to go through school, but it was just real hard for them. Somehow now they on the street, but at the same time, you think they super kind, they super sweet, but everybody say they got a temper in the street, and you like, I can't imagine it. Like, where's this coming from? Well, but that's because their whole life they still been told, no matter how great their thought was, that they still got an F. Do you know how that's a certain type of wicked? To be able to take somebody who comes to an answer differently, whether it's correct or not, and then give them a grade for that versus give them a grade for their ability to be able to stretch their mind to come to a wrong answer. Right? A neurodivergent brain is rewarded based on that piece, not based on getting the answer right. It's an ability to pull this together and that together, and that's what's so cool.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes that means they're not going to be able to write it down. They're just going to have to be verbal and say it. And people got to be okay with that. They got to be able to rant, but then don't think that you can re-ask them about it in 5 minutes. They're not going to remember what they said. It doesn't mean it wasn't brilliant. It's just they spit it out and was over it. Right. So yeah, there's a lot of differences.
And black people don't take shit seriously. That's the problem.
Right. But for real,
we just go, joke everything into our graves, and I think it
has a place.
It does.
It has a place because we've historically been through trauma, right? But the idea of how many young black men and women are in jail, in county, or just in the system because they were neurodivergent, and no one ever catered to their nuances and need. And let's think about this: y'all ain't in the system, and you struggle with people, right, catering to your needs and nuances. Right. So just take your life and your successful lives and the fact how you still feel so weighted from the day-to-day activities, whether it's political, societal, family, just life journeys. And now you give that to somebody that's dyslexic, bipolar, ADHD, have autism, right? Different types of neurodivergency. Their neurons are popping off on an extreme level. So they're living with societal issues plus their neurological issues. But yet we're not catering towards what are the stuff that we as a community have to do to re-cater. So in the 90s and 2000s, right? The black community finally started to open up and feel like, okay, we're going to start to be okay with LGBTQ plus, but only to a certain level. But, it's cool now, right? So, now it's okay, well, come out. But the thing is, we still are struggling with getting people to come out with being special needs.
Yeah, and just the mental health conversation in general.
Just the mental health conversation.
It's still like it's taboo.
And you know, everybody say, I'm a creative.
Right.
You know, I think outside the box. And you don't got a choice but to think outside the box. You know, you're not so brilliant that you think outside the box. You'd have no choice but to think outside the box.
Right.
So that means that there still is work that has to be done, right? So, you know, now with doing special business, which is my national initiative, doing special business is to be as physical therapy for invisible disabilities. So we helping stretch neurodivergent people and neurotypical people to be able to understand that when you are in a relationship with someone that is a neurodivergent, then guess what? They do have a disability. That does not mean they're weak, but that means that they're always going to have a certain level of physical therapy just for their body maintenance. Okay? And you as a partner, are you going to be okay with understanding that when they are going through physical therapy, whenever that looks like, there's going to be time to where you're not primary and you're always going to have to lift them or help them in some way. But there are 1,000 ways that we do that with each other, right? So I say that to say that
you have to do that in relationships with people who are
and that's what you have to do. But the thing is, if you right now was to say find a husband or interest and he was visibly in a wheelchair some days, where he like, you know, some days I'm in a wheelchair, right? And you're like, okay,
not
cool.
Some days I'm in a wheelchair.
Well, because guess what? They can have spina bifida. They can have you know, different things that say, you know,
it might be some time, some flares,
literally that, you know, I have to be. It's not all the time, or so maybe it is all the time. But say when you first see him, you didn't think of him being in a wheelchair, but you love him, and of course you don't mind it because you down for him. It's obvious, and you going into it with your ew or your no ew right away. Right? Let's just be real, right? You're making you have the executive decision and the free choice on how far you want to pursue that.
It's true. Yes.
Right? Well, when you have somebody that's neurodivergent,
you don't know.
You don't always get that
right out the gate.
And that's the work. Is, well, how comfortable is it for us to, you know, say, I'm rolling up on you. You know, that's how you're going to see me the first time. You know what I mean?
How much you get on my nerves.
How much you get on my nerves. Like,
one more time.
It's like, it just stop for you. Like, here I am. Like, you know, it is what it is. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But no, there's something to that, though, because
how much time
it is something that you can see in real time versus something that you got to kind of like, that has to unfold.
Like you said, it has nuance, so you may not even notice it first.
Yeah.
Instead of nigga.
I'm just saying, right?
So silly.
Because, like, and so imagine what that's like. That this is the thing, right? Man.
Just like everybody, like you said, everybody say they I would date someone in a wheelchair.
You get what I'm
that
saying?
Nigga roll up.
Right. And then how you gonna feel? What does that really look like?
When he just holler at you, not even on it. Stop the cat.
Right. But you might be, but that's only because you understand that a relationship takes that because
it's gonna take something.
because you are handicapped in an area where he is not. And that's every relationship.
Right, that's true.
Right? And because of your need to have somebody that has 24/7 functional legs, even though those same legs, right, can be able to, guess what? That person's legs can get injured the day after you marry them.
That's true. It's very true.
And look at you, goofy.
Right.
Right? All because you was worried about somebody's, what you perceived as a relationship shortcoming, when you don't know what tomorrow entails. It's very arrogant to start to say what is somebody's limits and why you won't be with them. If it's not about their spiritual limitations and mental limitations to want to grow, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions about who am I?
Yeah.
Because who do you think you are that you're going to die as you are?
Right.
What limitations are you going to put on your relationship that you cannot see from now? It's very arrogant to try to pick your mate based on wholeness when tomorrow's not guaranteed.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And it's coming from the perception that you're already whole too most of the time. You know.
And the thing is that we all pick a mate based on where we're short. Right? But what about if that person, and as far as shortness, actually rubs off on them? Right? And that's what a lot of relationship disappointments are. Is you get with somebody and you think it's going to be this way, but now you start to see that your bad habit start to rub off on them, but you really with them because they didn't have that bad habit. Okay, you still have work to do. But did you go in the relationship saying, this is something that is a bad habit that I don't want to bring in the relationship? So what I'm saying is, if people can't be able to advocate the special nuances and needs that they bring into a friendship, like if you have a homegirl that just can't stop gossiping, right? She should be able to tell you the first time y'all become cool. Well, hey, how are you doing? Hey, my name is so-and-so, and I love to gossip. Right? Because somebody might be like, bet, you my Thursday night friend when I'm working third shift, and I just want to hear somebody just talk the tea. And that's cool. You know how to then. But guess what? You don't have the right to get mad at them 6 months later when it's like, but I told you that. No, because you already knew going in that she's the gossiper. So anything you said is to exchange information down the line.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, not being funny. But so I'm saying that, but people gotta be able to come to the table, whether they want to be your friend or lover. What you got going on?
Right.
But that's just, I feel like that's a generic downfall of human nature in general, is that we don't address shit out the gate.
Right.
I've been guilty of it for sure. Or even like in the beginning of relationships, you see shit that be red flags. You just decide.
You don't know how to address it.
Or you decide to overlook it because there's maybe some other pearly things about the person.
Right. So I'm going to address it. Right.
I mean, well, with learning, I feel I've come to become better at that and recognizing it. But I think it does take time. And your brain just set up to dissect that shit. Some people, us other people, it's like, we the slow ones taking forever to get. You probably meet people and go boom, all in 1 second and know where you need to move. I think that's like a big. I don't know what that was.
Well, I know what you mean.
Just the like neurodivergent code noise, like. But it's like, I envy people.
Computer.
But I envy people in a way who think so logically. Yeah. There's a show called Atypical that came out some years ago on Netflix. What's his name? Michael Rappaport played the dad. Great fucking show, and I think the specificity of his because I think autism is almost like fingerprinted, right? Everybody's
different.
Everybody is gonna be different. Everybody's stemming, like you were talking about, is different. Everything is just different. I don't think there's one case that is just like the other.
Right.
So I thought it was a really good representation of like the teenage boy who played his son. He just was so logical. And most people deem that as a fault. Like, most people who are super logical, you automatically get deemed as an overthinker or a Debbie Downer or even a negative person at sometimes. But when your brain you're describing me. Did y'all ever watch that show? Y'all should watch that show.
I got it in my list.
It was literally such a good show, and I feel like it taught me a lot about autism just in watching it. Because the relationships were so, like I said, specifically written and his little quirks and stuff. Like, he was obsessed with penguins. So, like, he spent a lot of time at the aquarium, and all throughout the narration was like how, basically navigating how penguins have a lot of neurodivergent qualities, like how they pick mates, how they, it was just great analogies all throughout. Like, shout out to that show, because that was a good ass show, and it only, I think, had 2 or 3 seasons, but it was really, really good.
No, I love that. Yeah, so I feel like Lovers, Friends, and Bottlenecks is going to really, it's going to change the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before we get into your upcoming projects, we're going to go over the first word of the day that has ever gotten disputed in the history of Spoken Word podcast, right, y'all? So this is like good shit, right? Like, this is great. Me and Sasha love this, like, because when we shared the word with Jett, he said, "Oh, great," but I disagree. So we're gonna let you disagree. You know, and give us your point why, and we'll share the word along with that.
I don't want to say necessarily disagree, right? It's just that I think that's a very broad statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more nuance to it.
I think it's a deeper piece that even talks about where we're included and where we're not included at, right? So your spoken word your word of the day is. A lot of checklists used to identify neurodivergence are based on Western white norms. They miss the experience of people of color, leaving many of us unseen and undiagnosed. Well, once again, I take everything.
Well, who said the word?
Yeah, what's her name? Can you read it for us?
That's not fair to do that to me. So, you know, I don't like messing up names because I can't stand for people to mess up my name.
I know, it's an African
but
name.
A beautiful black queen. You know, stuff. You know,
we gonna put her name on the thing.
Yes, a beautiful black queen.
But she's like a theorist.
Like she's an author.
But it seems like she's also on the spectrum.
She is.
So I don't want to discount her experience.
Right.
But as far as the way I look at it, I think that honestly, when people think about autism on a wider spectrum or special needs, I think they look at black kids first. I do. I feel like a lot of non-people of color that have skated through life are neurodivergent and are not prescribed because, you know, Toby is just naturally brilliant and think outside the box, but he's autistic too. He just knows he just has, you know, high functioning, right?
Or better resources.
Right. So I feel like...
Oh, you mean Toby,
Just Toby.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Toby's outside the black community.
Yeah.
What? So what?
I was not.
You know,
she thinking Toby Roots.
No, I was thinking Toby and what's his name? In Wingway, the African dude, singer dude.
Oh yeah,
that's what I thought. I was like, he's autistic.
No.
She put people on the spectrum.
No, so I said that to say I think that more of I don't think it's the identifying the neurodivergence. I think it's the resource allotment.
Yeah.
That is based on white Western norms. Yeah. Because for me, they identify all of us as special needs. Mm-hmm. We go in with them saying that they don't know what they're doing. You know, or they're not smart, they're not bright. We were just monkeys less than 100 years ago.
Right.
Right. So, you know, I'm dead serious. Yeah. So what I mean is they look at us as a people as special needs.
As divergent in itself.
Period. We're not neurotypical. Period. But I think it's about the resource allocation. So I understand what my sister is saying. Right? But I think that no, it's the resources and how to allot it to a community, to our community. Yeah. So the allotment of it is going to look different.
That's always the issue with our community.
Right. So it's going to look different as far as how are we distributing and how are we assessing what those resources look like. But I think identifying isn't the problem. I think we're undiagnosed because we also as a people don't want to label our son, our daughter, right? And also that new work that parent has to do the same way as if they just got diagnosed that their child is going to be in a wheelchair some days. It's the same thing. The second your child gets a diagnosis of being neurodivergent, you and your life as a parent as you know it has stopped. And it is now about your special needs child and you're still your overall household, but you can't try to sweep it under the rug and discipline the neurodivergence away.
Right.
Black
is people. That what physical, what mental and physical therapy is now going to be assigned to mom, dad. What's the work that you have to do? What's the self-adjustment because you have a child that has an invisible disability?
Right.
And that is a very odd thing to then try to make your child draw out and always explain their invisible disability. When you're the parent, you're going to have to lift them up some days. You're going to have to know when you understand they want to walk, but you really want them to be able to take a walker or just pack the wheelchair with them this week, right? When you have invisible disabilities, you don't get that. You get, I can tell you better act up. Look at him. He better act up. You can tell. He getting real quiet. He getting antsy. So you mean to tell me that you can recognize it, but you want to recognize it and weaponize it. But you recognize it, mom. So when we say that it's undiagnosed or that it's not obvious, no, we see it in our child. We see it in our children. But it's how we demonize their behaviors because as a parent, you don't want to accept the daily work that you now have to adjust to. And that's because you yourself is probably neurodivergent and undiagnosed. Right? So we all just talk about, it's not like this is the first generation of undiagnosed neurodivergent folks.
Right.
So if we start talking about grandma was undiagnosed, grandpa was undiagnosed, and we talk about generations of no resources, now it becomes part of the culture to be able to punish, to be able to say, okay, but we used to act like, that football player that couldn't get his grades right, we just said he was special, right? But he was special needs, even though he dated the popular girl and they were both popular, but he couldn't finish homework to save his life, right? All right, so bro was autistic. But nobody wants to say that because how's he going to be homecoming king and be autistic?
Right.
No. That's deep.
No,
that is true.
You is what you are. But your parents praised you not because you was autistic, but because you was able to still play a sport. But you take that same dude, if he didn't do that sport, how do you think his pops would have treated him? How do you think the high school people would have treated him if sport wasn't something that he shined in, and he felt inadequate in all these other traditional areas of school? Right. So we force black men and black women to mask and to show up and find ways to become excellent, right? Where a lot of them find ways to become excellent instead of finding ways to heal, because if you're trying to just find ways to be excellent, that means that people aren't going to mistreat you. People are going to value you. Right, so me, I walk around supply chain. Oh, here we go. Right, here we go. Oh, well, this is how this works. This is this. Why? Right, but all that was learned behavior because who wanted just Michael in the room? I never felt like anybody wanted Michael in the room. Right, and it's like that's an okay thing. But at the same time, that creates reasons to mask, because now it's like, I'm about to go to this event. This the mask I'm about to take. I'm about to act up because that's what this is. When really, you just want to go and chill. But you're going to wear the mask that you got to get through the moment. Right. So anyways.
Yeah, I could listen to Jett talk all day.
But this is what black people need to hear, because we need to have an understanding of ourselves. So I got a couple minutes on there. So
I'm like, do I see
so
red?
Tell us about, I know you were about to get into Lovers, Friends, and Bottlenecks. So tell us a bit about that and what you have going on upcoming too.
Yeah, so Lovers, Friends, and Bottlenecks. Lovers, Friends, and Bottlenecks is an initiative of Doing Special Business, but it's for the Doing Special Business Studios. So our studios is putting out a new series. And right now the series is taping. We also have an extension series that we're casting for too, so super excited. But but Lovers, Friends, and Bottlenecks follows 5 individuals, 5 characters, as they discover their needs and nuances and how well their romantic and platonic partners are actually adjusting to their needs and nuances. When the series wraps, you're going to find out what relationships they were able to hold on to and build, and what relationships they had to let go of and why. But then we also have our weekly socials, so social media lives. So on Sundays, it's going to be the connections. So if you're neurodivergent, you can be able to come on there and you just state what are your nuances and needs, and what are you looking for in a lover or a friend, right? So that's going to be super dope. Get ready for that. Monday night is self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is really going to dive into people's experiences and shared experiences, whether you're on the spectrum or navigated with someone on the spectrum. And then on Wednesdays, we have our ex-lovers and friends. So that's when we're going to be doing sit-downs with ex-lovers and friends and seeing, could their relationship been saved if they knew about the neurodivergency and what they thought was a personal trait that their ex-mate or ex-friend wouldn't fix, how that was tied to their disability. Right? Is it worth saving? We really look forward to that night.
Well, that's so exciting. Yeah, we definitely are going to drop all of Jett's socials and websites in the comments and description box. Please follow him. Take part in his story. He's doing some amazing things, not just with the neurodivergent community, but just
in the world.
In the world. And just an all-around joy to be around. You have always been like one of our favorite people. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here. And just, I hope y'all soaking in what he was saying, even if you can read between the lines sometimes, because Jett, he likes to talk in parables. So, yes.
You definitely got to read between the lines with him. But hop in the comments, y'all. If anybody is a part of the community, please let us know your stories. Reach out to Jett. Use us as resources.
Get on the show.
Come on the live. Right? DM me if you want to get on one of the lives and self-advocate on one of the nights.
Yes.
We will have everything in the description box. We will see y'all next time. We appreciate y'all. We are signing out.
Peace.